The warning came on a Tuesday morning. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his coffee in the Earth Defense Force Command Center when every screen in the room turned bright red. The words that appeared made his blood run cold. Unknown vessels. Approaching Earth. Size unknown. Origin unknown. Speed impossible. Jake dropped his coffee mug, shattered on the floor, but he didn't notice. Outside the windows, he could see them now. Massive ships hung in the sky like floating mountains. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Much bigger. "Sir, we're getting a signal," said Lieutenant Kate Phillips from the communications desk. Her voice was shaking. "They're asking to speak with our leaders." "Put it through," Jake said. The screen flickered, and a face appeared. It wasn't human. The creature had scales instead of skin, yellow eyes, and teeth that looked like they could bite through steel. When it spoke, its voice was cold and mechanical. "I'm Commander Dexfer of the Galactic Concordat. Your species will now submit to our authority. Resistance is pointless. You have 1 hour to gather your leaders." The screen went black. Jake stared at the empty screen. 1 hour. After all these years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. And it was the worst possible news. Admiral Lisa Grant arrived at the United Nations building in New York exactly 59 minutes later. She was Earth's highest military commander, a tough woman who had never backed down from a fight. Today, she looked scared. The alien ships were everywhere now. One hung over every major city on Earth: London, Tokyo, Paris, Moscow, Beijing. The message was clear. Try to fight, and millions would die. Inside the UN building, world leaders sat around a table that had seen many crises, but nothing like this. President Ellen Carter of the United States sat next to Prime Minister David Lee of Britain. Chancellor Anna Weber of Germany was there, along with dozens of other leaders. They all looked small and helpless. The alien who entered the room was different from the one on the screen. This one was taller, with blue scales instead of green. Behind him came 2 other creatures. One looked like a giant insect with 4 arms and compound eyes. The other seemed to be made of living crystal that sparkled when it moved. "I am supreme," Governor Kexroth, the blue-scaled alien, said. "These are my advisors, Hive Speaker Zach of the Zephyrians and Logicor Prime of the Nexari. We represent the Galactic Concordat, the lawful government of this galaxy." He placed a thick document on the table. "These are the subjugation accords. Your species is hereby classified as Class C primitives. You will sign this document, or your cities will burn." Admiral Grant stood up. "Wow, we won't sign anything until we know what's in it." The crystal alien spoke with a voice like breaking glass. "Analysis indicates this species shows typical pre-spaceflight aggression patterns. Recommendation: immediate pacification protocols." "No," said the insect creature. Its voice buzzed like 1,000 flies. "The Hive has decided. They will submit peacefully or be destroyed. There is no third option." President Carter leaned forward. "What exactly are you demanding?" Governor Kexroth smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Simple terms. Earth becomes a resource colony. Your military forces will be disbanded. All weapons technology will be surrendered. Your people will work in our mining operations and factories. In return, we will not exterminate you." "That's slavery," Admiral Grant said. "That's civilization," the governor replied. "Every species in the galaxy has accepted these terms. You are not special." Inside the building, Dr. Alex Turner watched the alien ships through his telescope. He was Earth's leading expert on possible alien life, and he was taking notes on everything he saw. The ships were advanced, no doubt about it. But something bothered him. They all looked exactly the same. Same design, same weapons, same everything. No variety at all. Back in the UN building, The argument continued. The alien governor was getting impatient. You've seen our ships. You know you cannot resist. Sign the accords now, or watch your cities become ash. Prime Minister Lee spoke up. How do we know you'll keep your word? How do we know you won't just kill us all anyway? The insect alien buzzed angrily. The hive does not lie. We need workers, not corpses. Submit and live, resist and die. Simple choice. Admiral Grant looked around the table at the other leaders. She could see the fear in their eyes. Earth's entire military could not stop even one of those alien ships. They had nuclear weapons, but the aliens would just shoot them down. They had fighters and bombers, but they would be like mosquitoes attacking an elephant. If we sign this, she said slowly, what happens to our people? They will be relocated. 2 work centers, the crystal alien said. Efficiency will be maximized. Rebellion will be prevented through proper conditioning. Your species will learn to appreciate the order we bring. The governor placed a pen on the table. Decide now. Your hour is over. Admiral Grant picked up the pen. Her hand shook as she looked at the document. She thought about her daughter back home. She thought about the billions of people counting on her to keep them alive. Okay? She thought about the alien ships hanging over every city like swords, ready to fall. She signed her name. The governor smiled. Excellent. Kandai welcomes Earth into the galactic community. Your new lives begin now. But as the aliens left the building, none of them noticed the small group of humans watching from the shadows. Former Marine General Ryan Hayes whispered to his companions, remember their faces. Remember this day. Because someday we're going to make them pay for every word they just said. The aliens thought they had conquered Earth. They thought humans would be like every other species they had subjugated. Grateful for peace, willing to work, accepting of their fate. They were about to learn they had made a terrible mistake. 3 years had passed since the aliens came. On the surface, Earth looked like a peaceful colony world. Huge mining machines dug into mountains. Factories worked day and night, making goods for alien worlds. Cargo ships took Earth's resources to distant planets every week, but underground, in the old subway tunnels of New York, Commander Ben Taylor was planning war. Claire, show me what you found, Ben said to the woman hunched over a pile of alien electronics. Claire Brooks looked up from her work. She used to design spaceships for NASA. Now she spent her days trying to understand alien technology. Look at this, she said, holding up a small device. This is their communication unit. I took it from a dead forethought guard last week. Can you make it work? Asked Sam Foster. The former Army Ranger was cleaning his rifle, one of the few human weapons they had left. Better than that, Claire smiled. I can listen to their conversations, okay? And Ben, they're not as smart as they think they are. She connected the device to a human computer she had built from scraps. Alien voices filled the tunnel, speaking in their harsh language. But Claire had learned to understand some of their words. They're complaining about humans again, she translated. The mining supervisor says workers are too slow. The factory manager says production is behind schedule. And they can't figure out why. Ben grinned, 'cause we're making sure it stays that way. The resistance had learned to fight in ways the aliens never expected. They couldn't win big battles, so they fought small ones everywhere. A broken machine here, a delayed shipment there, a computer virus that made alien systems crash, death by 1,000 cuts in the frozen wasteland of Antarctica. Dr. Rachel Stone was making discoveries that would change everything. The aliens had ignored the coldest parts of Earth, thinking nothing useful could happen there. They were wrong. Rachel's breath made clouds in the air as she worked in her hidden laboratory. The building was buried under the ice, invisible to alien sensors. Inside, human scientists worked on projects that would have amazed their former colleagues. Temperature analysis complete, she told her assistant, Dr. Ken Brooks. Can't function below -20 degrees. Their blood actually freezes. Ken looked up from his own work. He was studying pieces of an alien weapon they had captured. Explains why they only patrol in warm climates. They're not adapted for our weather. It's more than that, Rachel said excitedly. Look at this data. All 3 alien species have the same weakness. They evolved on worlds with stable climates. They never had to deal with the kind of weather changes we get on Earth. Meanwhile, in the mountains of Colorado, Lieutenant Colonel Pete Davis was proving that humans could adapt to anything. His team had been living in caves for 2 years, surviving on what they could hunt and steal. The aliens had given up trying to find them. Movement to the south, whispered Tony Martinez, the team's engineer. He was watching alien patrols through stolen binoculars. 3 Zephyrian guards heading for the mining station. Pete studied the aliens through his own scope. The insect creatures moved in perfect formation, just like they always did. No creativity, no variation. It made them predictable. Same route as yesterday, he murmured. Same timing, same spacing. They never learn. His team had been watching alien patrols for months. The creatures followed exact patterns, never deviating from their programmed routes. It was like fighting robots instead of living beings. That night, they struck. Pete's team hit the alien convoy carrying processed metals to their transport ship. They killed the guards quickly and quietly, then disappeared back into the mountains with their prize. But the real victory came later. When Tony examined the alien transport vehicle, Keith, you need to see this, he said, his voice full of excitement. The vehicle's computer system was completely unprotected. No passwords, no security codes, no encryption. The aliens had never considered that primitive humans might be able to access their technology. They think we're too stupid to use their equipment. Tony laughed. They're about to learn how wrong they are. In the ruins of Detroit, Dr. Helen Carter was learning the aliens' biggest secret. She had been studying their power systems for months, trying to understand how their incredible technology worked. It's all connected, she explained to her team of scientists and engineers. Every alien device uses the same basic power system. Ships, weapons, computers, everything. They built their entire civilization around one technology. That's efficient, said her assistant, Dr. Lucy Hayes. But also dangerous. Exactly, Helen smiled. If we can figure out how to disrupt that one system, we can cripple their entire fleet. The breakthrough came when they captured an intact alien power cell. Helen's team worked for weeks to understand its design. What they found amazed them. The aliens are thousands of years more advanced than us, Helen told a secret meeting of resistance leaders. But they've become lazy. They use the same technology for everything because it's easier than innovating. General Ryan Hayes, who had been hiding in the wilderness since the surrender, listened carefully. What does that mean for us? It means they have a fatal weakness, Helen replied. They can't adapt. They've been using the same systems for so long, they've forgotten how to change. As the resistance grew stronger, the aliens grew more frustrated. Governor Kexroth called emergency meetings with his advisors. Their reports were all the same. Human productivity was falling, equipment failures were increasing, and mysterious accidents kept happening. This is impossible, the Crystal Alien Logicore Prime said. Statistical analysis indicates that human resistance should have collapsed within 6 months. Instead, it appears to be growing. The insect hive speaker, Zach, buzzed angrily. Hive has never encountered a species that refuses to accept its place. All other conquered races learn to obey within 1 year. Perhaps we underestimated them, Governor Kexroth said slowly. The thought terrified him. The Concordat had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years because they were always superior to the species they conquered. If humans were different, if they could actually threaten alien rule, then everything might change. Back in the tunnels under New York, Ben Taylor received a message that made him smile. Resistance cells were active on every continent. Humans were learning to use alien technology. Most importantly, they were starting to win small victories. The aliens expected us to give up, Ben told his team. They thought we would accept being slaves, because that's what every other species did. But they made one mistake. What's that? Sam Foster asked. They don't understand humans, Ben replied. We don't know how to give up. And now we're going to teach them what that means. The underground war was just beginning. 5 years after the aliens came, everything was about to change. In a hidden base beneath the Rocky Mountains, former Air Force Colonel Nick Adams stared at a screen that showed something impossible. Human resistance cells weren't just surviving anymore, they were winning. Show me the numbers again, Nick said to his intelligence officer, Maria Lopez. Maria pointed to the map on the wall. Red dots marked alien facilities. Green dots showed resistance bases. 6 months ago, we had maybe 50 active cells worldwide. Now we have over 300. And look at this. She switched to a different map. This one showed alien equipment losses. The red line climbed higher every week. They're losing ships, weapons, and supplies faster than they can replace them. Maria continued. Our raids are working, but more importantly, we're learning to use their technology better than they expected. In her laboratory in Antarctica, Dr. Susan Reed was proving Maria right. She had been working with captured alien computers for 2 years. What she discovered made her hands shake with excitement. It's all connected, she whispered to herself as she stared at the alien code scrolling across her screen. Every ship, every weapon, every computer in their entire empire uses the same basic system. She called her assistant over. Look at this. The aliens built their technology like a giant web. Everything talks to everything else. It makes them efficient, but it also makes them vulnerable. Dr. Ken Brooks studied the code. He had been a software engineer before the invasion. If we could get a virus into their network, it would spread everywhere, Susan finished. Every alien ship, every space station, every weapon platform. It could cripple their entire fleet with one attack. 3,000 miles away, Captain. Dan Foster was about to test their theories in real combat. He stood on the bridge of a captured alien transport ship, looking at his crew of former soldiers and engineers. They had spent months learning to operate alien technology. K-Day would find out if humans could really fight aliens in space. Target confirmed, said his pilot, a former Navy aviator named Carol White. Warthog patrol ship, dead ahead. They're not expecting us. Dan's ship looked like any other alien transport from the outside. But inside, his crew had made dozens of improvements. Human engineers had stripped out unnecessary systems and added redundant controls. One system failed, 3 others could take over. Remember? Dan told his crew, they think like machines. We think like humans. Use that advantage. The alien patrol ship spotted them and demanded identification. Carol sent the proper codes, stolen from alien computers weeks earlier. T patrol ship's response was exactly what they expected, routine and predictable. They're not even scanning US properly, Carol laughed. Their security protocols haven't changed in 1,000 years. Dan waited until they were close enough to guarantee success. Then he gave the order. Fire everything. The battle lasted less than 3 minutes. The alien patrol ship followed standard defensive procedures that had worked for centuries against other alien enemies. But humans didn't fight like other aliens. They attacked from multiple angles, changed tactics mid-battle, and took risks that no logical computer would calculate. When the alien ship exploded, Dan's crew cheered. It was the first time humans had defeated aliens in equal combat. Okay, but more importantly, they had proven that alien technology wasn't superior to human creativity. The news spread through the resistance network like wildfire. Intelligence officer Maria Lopez intercepted alien communications that showed their growing panic. For the first time in galactic history, a subject species had destroyed a Concordat warship in open battle. "They're scared," Maria reported too. Nick Adams, "The aliens are actually scared of us." The alien response was swift and brutal. Governor Kexroth ordered massive retaliation strikes against human cities. If humans wanted to fight, he would show them the cost of resistance, but the governor made a critical mistake. He assumed that increased violence would break human resistance, just as it had broken every other species in galactic history. Instead, it had the opposite effect in cities around the world. Humans who had tried to cooperate with the aliens now joined the resistance. Factory workers sabotaged production lines. Miners caused cave-ins that buried alien equipment. Alien collaborators began feeding information to resistance cells. They just made it personal. General Ryan Hayes told a secret meeting of resistance leaders. Every human who dies in their retaliation strikes creates 10 new rebels. The general was right. The alien crackdown triggered a planet-wide uprising. Resistance cells that had been hiding in shadows now fought openly in the streets. Humans used guerrilla tactics learned from decades of Earth's own conflicts. They set ambushes, planted bombs, and disappeared into crowds. Before aliens could respond, the aliens discovered that conquering humans was like trying to hold water in their hands. The harder they squeezed, the more humans slipped through there. Fingers. Commander Lucy Hayes led the first major space battle from Earth's secret shipyard in orbit around the moon. Human engineers had been building ships for months, using stolen alien technology and human improvements. Her fleet consisted of 20 modified alien vessels crewed entirely by humans. Kana, the command ship first. Lucy ordered her captains, "Cut off their head and the body will follow." The alien fleet consisted of 60 ships, 3 times larger than the human force. Their commander, a Vorthok admiral named Gorthok, was confident of easy victory. He had fought dozens of space battles against other alien species. He knew exactly what to expect. What he got instead was chaos. Human ships attacked in coordinated swarms, like angry bees defending their hive. They didn't follow standard battle formations or logical attack patterns. They improvised, adapted, and fought with a ferocity that no computer could predict. When Admiral Gorthok's command ship exploded, his fleet fell apart. Without clear orders, the remaining alien ships tried to retreat, but human pilots hunted them down one by one, showing no mercy to enemies who had shown none to Earth. The battle ended with complete human victory. 43 alien ships destroyed, 17 captured intact. Only 3 escaped to carry news of the defeat back to Concordat space. As Lucy Hayes watched the last alien ship flee, she opened communications to all human resistance cells on Earth and throughout the solar system. "This is Commander Hayes of the Human Liberation Fleet," she announced. "The alien fleet has been destroyed. Earth's skies are free. The war is just beginning, but today we proved something important. We proved that humans don't know how to surrender." Damn. Alien space. Emergency meetings were held on every Concordat world. The impossible had happened. A primitive species had not only resisted subjugation, but had begun winning battles against vastly superior forces. For the first time in their long history, the aliens faced an enemy they didn't understand. It's an enemy that got stronger when hurt, fought harder when cornered, and refused to accept defeat even when facing impossible odds. The humans weren't just rebelling anymore. They were conquering. And the aliens were beginning to realize they might have awakened something far more dangerous than they ever imagined. 7 years After the aliens first arrived, Earth was no longer their prisoner. President Ellen Carter stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching human ships patrol the solar system like guard dogs protecting their territory. What had once been an alien occupation zone was now humanity's fortress. "Ma'am, we're receiving distress calls from the Centauri system," reported Communications Officer Amy Taylor. 3 alien species are requesting human protection from Concordat retaliation forces. Ellen smiled grimly. "Tell them we'll consider their request. But first, they need to prove they're serious about breaking free from Concordat control." The tables had turned completely. Alien worlds that had been loyal to the Concordat for thousands of years were now begging humans for help. The rebellion that started on Earth had spread across the galaxy like a virus, infecting every species that had ever dreamed of freedom. General Chris Miller commanded the Human Liberation Fleet from his flagship, Earth's Revenge. The massive ship had once been a Vorthog dreadnought, the pride of their fleet. Now it flew human colors and carried weapons that no alien engineer could have imagined. "Status report," Chris asked his tactical officer, Lieutenant Paul Green. 67 systems under human control or protection," Paul replied. "The Concordat has lost over half their territory in the past year. Their remaining forces are concentrated around their 3 home worlds." Chris studied the star map floating above the command table. Red zones showed areas still under Concordat control. Green zones belonged to the Human Alliance. Blue zones were neutral systems trying to decide which side to join. "What about their fleet strength?" Chris asked. "Down to maybe 300 ships," said Captain Steve Adams, who led the fleet's reconnaissance forces. "They've lost almost 2,000 vessels since the war began. Most of them captured and turned against them." The aliens were learning what humans had always known: technology alone couldn't win wars. The Concordat had superior ships and weapons, but they lacked the one thing that made humans dangerous: the ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. Dr. Jerry Stone was proving that point in his laboratory aboard the research ship Discovery. He had been working on something the aliens thought was impossible: nanoscale warfare. Tiny machines, smaller than bacteria, that could infiltrate alien systems and destroy them from within. "Final test complete," Jerry announced to his team. "The nanobots can survive in the alien ship environment and reproduce themselves using available materials. Once they're inside an alien vessel, they'll spread throughout the entire ship in about 6 hours." His assistant, Dr. Betty Clark, looked worried. "Are you sure we can control them?" "What if they spread to our own ships?" "They're programmed to only attack alien technology," Jerry assured her. "Human systems use different materials and energy signatures. We're completely safe, till but the real test would come during the Battle of Vega Station, the largest space battle in galactic history." Admiral Betty Clark, Jerry's former assistant, who had been promoted to fleet command, led 400 human ships against the Concordat's last major fleet. The aliens brought everything they had left: 800 ships, including their most powerful dreadnoughts and battle stations. It was their final attempt to crush the human rebellion before it destroyed their entire civilization. "Release the nanobots," Betty ordered, as the 2 fleets closed to combat range. Millions of tiny machines, visible to alien sensors, spread through space like a cloud of death. They attached themselves to alien hulls and began the slow work of infiltration. The aliens had no idea they were already defeated. The battle began like every other space combat in galactic history. Massive ships exchanged energy beams and missile barrages. Fighters swarmed around capital ships like angry insects for the first hour. It looked like the aliens might actually win through sheer numbers. Then the nanobots reached critical mass. One by one, alien ships began shutting down. Their weapons stopped firing. Their engines went dead. Their life support systems failed. In the vacuum of space, alien crews died by the thousands as their own technology turned against them. "What's happening?" screamed Admiral Dexford, the Concordat fleet commander. Why are our ships failing? His bridge crew had no answers. Their instruments showed no external attacks, no system failures, no logical explanation for why their fleet was dying around them. They didn't know that humans had found a way to wage war on a level they couldn't even detect. Within 3 hours, the entire Concordat fleet was either destroyed or drifting helplessly in space. Human ships moved through the wreckage like vultures, capturing anything useful and rescuing alien survivors who agreed to surrender. Admiral Dexver's flagship was one of the last to fall. As his ship's systems failed around him, he sent a final message to Concordat High Command. The humans have won. Hey, fight with weapons we cannot see, using tactics we cannot understand. Our empire is finished. The news of the Vega victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. On 1,000 worlds, alien populations rose up against their Concordat overlords. Species that had been enslaved for millennia suddenly remembered what freedom felt like. Captain Frank Key Miller led human expeditionary forces to help liberate these worlds. His ships carried not just weapons, but something more powerful: hope. Every alien species that joined the Human Alliance brought their own knowledge and technology to the fight. We're not trying to replace the Concordat, Frank explained to newly liberated alien leaders. We're trying to create something better, okay? A galaxy where every species has the right to choose their own destiny. The Vorthok Empire, once the core of Concordat power, was crumbling from within. Emperor Kexroth watched helplessly as his star systems declared independence, one by one. His military commanders reported the same thing from every front. Human forces were advancing. Alien resistance was collapsing, and entire fleets were surrendering without a fight. How did this happen? The Emperor asked his advisors. 7 years ago, they were primitives with barely functional space travel. Now they control half the galaxy. Science advisor, a crystal being called Logic Core 7, provided the terrifying answer. Analysis suggests we fundamentally misunderstood human psychology. Where other species become compliant when faced with superior force, humans become more determined. Where other species accept their limitations, humans find ways to exceed them. Are you saying we created our own enemies? Affirmative. By attempting to suppress human development, we forced them to develop faster than any species in galactic history. By treating them as primitives, we gave them the motivation to surpass us. We did not conquer Earth, we merely delayed our own defeat. Meanwhile, President Ellen Carter was preparing for the final phase of the war. Intelligence reports showed that the Concordat's 3 home worlds were preparing for a last, desperate defense. They had recalled every remaining ship and were fortifying their systems with everything they had left. They're going to make us pay for every inch, she told her military advisors. But they're also trapped. They can't retreat any further. This is where we ended. General Chris Miller nodded. The Liberation Fleet is ready. We have over 800 ships now, plus support from 37 allied species. The aliens are outnumbered 4 to 1. Numbers don't matter if they're willing to fight to the death, Ellen warned. These are their home worlds. They'll defend them with everything they have. 10 will take them with everything we have, Chris replied. The age of alien domination is over. It's time to show the galaxy what human determination really looks like. As human fleets gathered for the final assault, one thing was clear. The species that had once trembled before alien might was now the most feared military force in the galaxy. The primitives had become the predators and their former masters. We're about to learn what it meant to face humanity at war. 10 years after the aliens first came to Earth, President Donald Hayes stood in the same United Nations building where humanity had been forced to surrender. But today, the roles were completely reversed. Emperor Kexroth of the Vorthok sat at the same table where Admiral Grant had signed the subjugation accords, waiting to surrender his empire to the humans he had once called primitives. "The surrender documents are ready," said Secretary of State Linda Foster, placing the papers in front of the alien emperor. "All Concordat territories will be transferred to human administration. Your remaining fleets will be disbanded. Your people will be relocated to designated worlds under human supervision." Caxras' scaled hands shook as he stared at the documents. Around him sat the last leaders of the Concordat, Hive Queen Zact of the Zephyrians and Prime Logic 9 of the Nexari. All three species that had once ruled the galaxy were now begging for mercy from the humans they had tried to enslave. "Did you do it?" Kexroth asked quietly. 10 years ago, you couldn't even leave your own solar system. Now, you control 3/4 of the galaxy. How is that possible?" President Hayes smiled coldly. "You made the mistake of judging us by your standards. You thought conquering us would make us like you, satisfied, lazy, and weak. Instead, you turned us into something much worse than we ever were before." Admiral Karen White, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet, stood behind the president. Her ships filled the space around Forthok Prime, the former capital of the Galactic Empire. 2,000 human vessels waited in formation, ready to complete the conquest that had begun in Earth's underground tunnels. "Your people will be treated fairly," President Hayes continued, "as long as they accept human authority. We're not interested in revenge. We're interested in building a better galaxy." But not everyone was satisfied with simple conquest. Ambassador John Clark, who had spent 3 years in alien labor camps, looked at the surrendering aliens with hard eyes. He remembered every beating, every insult, every human who had died under alien rule. "What guarantees do we have that you won't rebel?" John asked. "Your species conquered the galaxy once. What stops you from trying again?" Prime Logic 9 answered with the mechanical voice that all Nexari used. "Analysis indicates rebellion probability at 0.03%. Human technological advancement rate exceeds Concordat recovery capacity by a factor of 57. Resistance would be illogical." The crystal being was right, and everyone knew it. Humans hadn't just defeated the aliens, they had completely surpassed them. Human ships were now faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything the Concordat had ever built. More importantly, humans continued to improve their technology every day, while the aliens had stagnated for thousands of years. Dr. Frank Miller, head of the Galactic Rehabilitation Program, had been studying this problem for months. His job was to help former Concordat species adapt to human rule, but he was finding it almost impossible. They'd forgotten how to think for themselves. He explained to President Hayes during a private meeting. "The Vortok have followed the same military procedures for 3,000 years. The Zephyrians can't make individual decisions without Hive approval. The Nexari are paralyzed whenever they encounter a problem their computers can't solve. They be retrained?" the president asked. "Some of them may be. The younger ones show more promise. But entire generations have been raised to follow orders without question. They literally don't know how to be creative." This was becoming clear throughout the former Concordat territories. Human administrators, like Governor Michelle Carter, found themselves dealing with alien populations that couldn't function without constant supervision. Species that had once ruled star systems now needed humans to make basic decisions for them. It's like babysitting an entire galaxy. Michelle reported from her office on the former Zephyrian homeworld. "They keep asking us for permission to do things they should be able to decide for themselves." But there were exceptions. Captain Lisa Grant, granddaughter of the admiral who had signed the original surrender, was working with young aliens who showed real potential. Her ship, the New Earth, carried mixed crews of humans and aliens on exploration missions beyond the known galaxy. "The young ones are different," Lisa reported during her latest mission briefing. They're curious about human methods. They want to learn how we think, how we solve problems. Give them a generation, and they might become almost as adaptable as we are. The real test came when unknown aliens from another galaxy appeared at the edge of human space. The Kandari were a warrior species that had been expanding aggressively. For centuries, they demanded that humans surrender their territory and submit to Kandari rule. "We have conquered 47 galaxies," declared Kandari war leader Vajtak during first contact. "Your species will join our empire or be destroyed. You have one standard day to decide." The response came from Admiral Sam Foster, commander of the Human First Fleet. His message was broadcast across both galaxies, ensuring that everyone would hear humanity's answer. "This is Admiral Foster of the Terran Defense Forces. Your demand is rejected. If you want our territory, come and take it. But remember that we're the species that conquered the Concordat. We're the ones who turned a galaxy of masters into a galaxy of servants. Try us and see what happens." The Kandari had never heard of the Concordat, so they assumed the humans were bluffing. They attacked with 5,000 ships, confident that their superior numbers would guarantee victory. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, the entire Kandari invasion fleet was either destroyed or captured. Not a single human ship was lost. Emperor Kexroth watched the battle from his prison cell on Earth. When it ended, he turned to his Zephyrian cellmate. "Now I understand why we lost," he said quietly. "We thought we were conquering a primitive species. We were actually waking up the most dangerous predators in the universe." President Hayes addressed the galaxy from the rebuilt United Nations building. Representatives from hundreds of species listened as he outlined humanity's vision for the future. 10 years ago, the Concordat told us that we were too young, too violent, and too unpredictable to be trusted with advanced technology. They were right about one thing: we are unpredictable. But that's exactly what this galaxy needed. He gestured to the mixed audience of humans and aliens. For thousands of years, the galaxy was stagnant, the same species ruling the same territories, using the same technologies. Nothing changed because nobody wanted change. Well, we're here to change everything. The new galactic government was unlike anything that had existed before. Instead of rigid hierarchies and permanent rulers, positions of authority were earned through competence and merit. Aliens who proved themselves capable of independent thought could advance to important positions. Those who couldn't were given simpler jobs suited to their abilities. Most importantly, humans were already looking beyond their conquered galaxy. Deep space exploration ships were pushing into uncharted regions, searching for new challenges and new worlds to settle. The species that had been confined to one planet now dreamed of spreading across the entire universe. "We didn't just defeat the Concordat," President Hayes concluded his speech. "We proved that the galaxy belongs to those who are willing to fight for it, adapt to challenges, and never accept defeat. The age of stagnation is over. The age of humanity has begun." As the ceremony ended and the former alien rulers were led away to their new lives as prisoners and refugees, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never be the same. The species that had tried to chain Earth had learned too late that some forces of nature cannot be contained. They had wanted to civilize humanity. Instead, humanity had civilized the galaxy on their own terms.